examine the context and the content, what's the comfort that Paul intends for you here? Well, returning to 2 Timothy, we see that he instructs, by way of an imperative, his hearers to remember. Remember. That's our covenant calling, you see, as Christians, is to remember Jesus Christ, raised from the dead, descended from David. Let me just remind you why this is a covenant calling. I'm turning to Deuteronomy 5. You don't have to turn there. You may want to make a note and look at it later. But it's the passage where the second giving of the law is found. And in the fourth commandment, as God is instructing his people to observe one day in 7 and keep it holy, in verse 15, he says, remember. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and that the Lord your God brought you out of there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. And what's the significance of that? You see, when God tells us to remember, it's a covenant calling. And what he's saying is, he's saying, remember who I am. And remember what I have done for you. And that therefore, I will do for you. Remember that. He says to the Israelites, he says, remember, you were slaves in Egypt. I brought you out of there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Do you think there's anything too hard for me to do? Do you think there's anything I won't do for you? Remember who I am. Remember what I've done. Remember, I'll continue to do it for you. So Paul comes to Timothy and he says, remember Jesus Christ raised from the dead, descended from David. What's he saying? The same thing. Remember who I am. I am the God-man whom death and hell could not keep captive. Remember who I am. I'm alive. I hold the keys of death and hell in my hand. Remember who I am. Raised from the dead, King of kings and Lord of lords, descendant of David. Remember who I am. And remember what I've done for you. I went to hell so that you wouldn't have to. I suffered and bore the wrath of God that you might be pardoned, forgiven, reconciled, and blessed. Remember who I am. Remember what I've done for you. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Do you think, do you doubt that I will forever love you? That I will forever provide for you? That I will forever protect you? Even if it comes to suffering death, I will deliver you through death into my glorious presence for all eternity. What do you have to be afraid of? What do you have to worry about? What do you have to do but to be faithful to me? Remember